be conscious about putting our names down because of the sign orders. If you go beyond 16, you are in trouble. So it's our personal responsibility to ensure that it is done. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Nyako. Meanwhile, table, please kindly take note of those corrections. But it's just an admonition to all of us. When you come, the first thing you have to do is to register. Until you do the full-fledged electronic registration, let's please resort to
7 item 4.5 to be marked absent with permission. 4.5 and 4.8. 4.5 and 4 your good office. Some not a job to the same thing.
Yes, Honorable Convodeyo, table, check the records, indicate that they took permission.
Mr. Speaker, this exercise of the front bench of the majority trying to say that that the following members, that's Sam George and the rest, had fill a permission form. It is by the member to be matched with a member being speaker who has to approve it and ensure it's approved before the member leaves. So I think it is properly captured, because until we have an approval of absent with permission, it cannot be captured that they are absent with permission. That is not the procedure.
Very well.
So to our rules. So
Honorable Habib Pause indicates that they took permission. There's no problem. They will correct the records. But I want to place it on record that I am responsible for that. And because I know the implications of it, I don't let that thing lie on my table even for an hour. Once I see any leave of absence, so table, as I said, do the needful. Yes, Majority Chief Whip.
Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, the First Deputy Minority Whip has a right to comment on matters when the House is engaged with. But the penchant for taking a dig at us, the front bench, has to stop. No, please. We are, when you get there, you say we are brothers. But you don't do things as if we are brothers. The appropriately directed that table office should reconcile the records on behalf of the majority bench. How do you take the whole majority bench to task, my brother? So he is in a litigious mood this morning. I don't know why. So he should disengage and let's do business in a very friendly and you see, Deputy Minority Leader is smiling at me. That's how it's supposed to be.
We are on page 13. Let's turn to page 14. Page 15. Page number 16. Page number 17. Page 18. Yes, Professor Nyako.
Madam Speaker, on page 17 under Committee on Education, the first sentence. The committee met on Wednesday, 19th March 2025 at 10:40 a.m. and held discussion with members of the National Education Forum Committee. I will suggest that we make a held discussion with the National Education Forum Committee or members of the National Education Forum. So discussion, I think that will be
end with that.
Members of the National Education Forum. Yeah.
They are going to Ghana, eh? Yes.
No, please. If you go to page numbers 18, look at how the designations are referred to. For example, Professor George Toku Odro, Chairman, National Education Forum. But you come to page 17, without a committee. because the committee met the education committee, and I was there. If you make it the way it is written, members of the National Education Forum Committee, simple.
Thank you. Yes, my brother. Yes, let me hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, it is not the entirety of the members of the National Education Forum, but rather it is the committee, the forum's committee, that came and briefed the Education Committee. So if you are eliminating their committee, I'm not sure we'll be giving them the right description.
It was meeting with the National Education Forum. The forum is a committee. The forum is a committee. I'm saying that I can read what the committee clerks put on the platform. It is the National Education Forum, not the National Education Forum Committee. My understanding of it. Thank you.
Yes, I'll share with you. Dr. Apak, Deputy Minister for Education, let's hear you.
Grateful, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe we can accommodate the rendition ably proposed by Dr. Professor Nyako, because the forum is a unit. We ought to accept. Nobody.
Very well, honourable members. I think we don't need to split our hairs on this. You still want to work on?
Speaker, these are matters of records, appropriate records. So all that the House is interested in is capturing the appropriate records.
Yes.
It appears that even the members of the committee are at some form of disagreement. So if the clerk could just furnish the table of his exactly who the nature of the entity that appeared before them to be captured. So Speaker will direct appropriately. So we will progress on this matter.
Very good friend and leader. If you go to page 18, that are reference white, not white and yellow.
Speaker, let me say this. You are repeating the room that came, but it was a numbers.
So the committee.
That's all.
Committee, so that I can have the right rendition of it. Return to page 18.
Mr. Speaker, just for your guidance, I see Professor Rosemary Seiwa Bonsu, or Bosu. Maybe table of it could confirm to see if that is the proper rendition that should be given to her.
Thank you. There is a name, so return to page 20. Of any further corrections, March 2025 is hereby adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honorable members, I have in my 11th March, Professor Kinsenyako.
Mr. Speaker, on column 4, the third paragraph, Mr. Suleimana. Mr. Speaker, it is back on. Then the Speaker comes in. Honour member, are you sure? Then I'm wondering, the first is Suleimana. Because I was here on that day when he said, it is back on. So, Mr. Suleimana is the same Mr. Hassan Tampuli Suleimana. So, either one can be.
So, are you trying to find out whether there's a different person called Suleimana?
It's the same person.
It's the same person.
Tampuli.
You are sure of that?
Yes, I was here on that day. But table office can check and be yes. Sure if there's another Suleimana.
Very well.
Then the same column, the last paragraph. Yes, honourable member for Apaja to South. Okay, so Mr. Frank Afriye is the same honourable. Then you come to column 8. Column 8 under Kingsley Nyako. Mr. Speaker, there are some minor corrections on Commission 79, so rightfully inserted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Table, kindly acknowledge.
Speaker, let me thank you so much. Same column 4, the very first paragraph, line 2. What I did say was that my mic was not working that day, but it's captured here that not has been omitted. And then I prayed that the table of office take note of that.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's true. Table, take note of that. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, my contribution to the tribute to D. Osajofo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, I think that the D is not necessary. It should be the tribute to Osajofo.
Thank you. Yes, my brother, are you up on your feet? Very well. Report of 11th March 2025 is accordingly adopted as the true records of proceedings. Ensuing week. But you kindly indulge me to acknowledge our children at the public gallery. I look at where they are coming from. None of them is coming from Accra here. They are all coming from Menchia South, Upper Denchera West, Esikuma, Odobe, Brakwa, and Kwadaso. So they've come all the way from other regions. So can Sewanyako Girls SHS. They are being led by Martin Opoku, who is a teacher, and the school is obviously located at Menchia South constituency. Menchia South constituency. Do you have the MP here? He what?
The room. So he will be here very.
Is for being so. They are being led by the headmaster, Upper Denchera West constituency. I think we have the member of parliament here. Yes. I hope you take care of them.
Speaker Audu.
Very well. The next school is Brakwa Catholic Basic School. They are being led by Desmond Kweku Ison. Isium. What? Ison, who is a teacher, and the school is located at Esikuma Odobeng Braka. Esikuma Odobeng Braka. Is it the finance minister's constituency? Honorable Gansa, yes. Where is he? Yes, Honorable Gansa. Have you seen your people? Yes. I hope you take care of them. Then the last school is Almighty Prempekali. It's Almighty Prempekali. They are being led by Raymond Afari, who is a teacher, and the school is located at Kwadaso constituency. Kwadaso constituency. Professor Nyako.
It's because I'm not well. Well, when I heard
it's Bantama.
No, it's Kwadaso. It is Almighty Kwadaso, not Bantama.
It's Almighty.
So for life. Pempe College is one of the best schools in this country.
Thank you.
One of the best.
What is he what?
What is Professor Nyako talking about?
What did he say?
Opoku are school in his heart is better than Pepper College. What is he talking about? I'm really amazed.
Members, please, this particular argument, I cannot. Member for.
I didn't say Opokuware is better than Pepper. I didn't say that.
No.
He is putting words in my mouth.
No.
He is putting words in my mouth. So please, for the records, I didn't say that. It's one of the best.
It's the best.
I didn't say that. It's one of the best.
It's the best.
One of the best.
It's the best.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker,
Yes.
thank you very much for indulging me. I share in what Professor Kingsley Nyako has just said. No. He said Prempeh is one of the best schools, but in his heart, Opokuwari is the school of choice.
Bye-bye.
Mr. Speaker,
Sit down.
Mr. Speaker,
Don't bring this discussion here.
No, Mr.
We
Speaker.
can contain it, please.
Opokuwari is the only school that after completion you are conferred with a title. Straight away, Okatechi
Bye-bye.
goes out there. He says, on mine, he says, Opokuwari is the only school that is endowed with that.
It's okay. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, let me thank you. Mr. Speaker, you see, I completed Bole Secondary School.
That's all.
Bole Secondary School is a village school.
Yes.
Bole Secondary School has we have the Deputy Bank of Ghana. We have the Deputy Bank of Ghana. The Deputy Bank of Ghana. The Deputy Bank of Ghana completed Bole Secondary School. Professor Ahmed Zakaria, National Ambulance, completed Bole Secondary School. Kintan Pondorf is here. And so when you are talking about secondary schools and you are mentioning the Prempeh College, the Achimota...
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in this room, the best senior high school is the one that Mr. Speaker actually went to. It is on that reason that Mr. Speaker himself is the one presiding in this chamber today. Mr. Speaker, you went to St. Hubert Seminary. Why are you shying away from this? St. Hubert Seminary is one of the best schools in this country. It showcased St. Hubert Seminary.
Mr. Speaker, we can't allow this to generate tragedy.
Mr. Speaker, let us go to...
Why should I off my mic?
Mr. Speaker, I don't know why it's turning into a debate. I attack schools you can find in the whole of Ghana. So let's stop the debate. Very much.
Yeah, let me give the opportunity to a lady.
Mr. Speaker, Liklim Akrugu, but the Tanga girls we are representing is the best, one of the best.
Very well. Thank you, all of you. We will have a session. We will have a session for this. But for now, please indulge me. I'm so grateful to you. So,
Mr. Speaker, you know why we are quiet. We know why some of us are quiet. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, some of us are quiet because we find this to be child's play. In this chamber, the leader of the House, Honorable Mama Yerga, comes from one of the best schools. And in this country, the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, teaching old students and just allowing them to make the noise.
Mr. Speaker.
honorable members, please. Let's bring the curtain down on this. Let's bring the curtain for this. But for now,
Mr. Speaker.
Please.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, let's make progress. Let's make progress. And many of my colleagues who are talking about their secondary school, they are even backbenchers. So let's make progress. And then,
so our children who have come all the way to witness what your representative do, study hard, so that tomorrow, when we are not here, you can also come and take over from us. So we wish you well. I believe the members of parliament will take care of you. You are most welcome. I think we also have a group of reverend ministers and pastors from the majority chief whip's constituency from South Dai, and they are being led by Reverend Stephen Gaitu. So Reverend ministers, you are also welcome. And we thank you for coming. Honored members, we will now move to item 11th week. We will invite the Deputy Majority Leader to take us through.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is the big. Mr. Speaker, the committee met and arranged business of the House for the 11th week ending Friday, the 28th of March, 2025. Mr. Speaker, the committee accordingly submit its report as follows. Read any available communication. Order 91-2 of outstanding orders, ministers of state may be permitted to make stable members in accordance with Order 93. Mr. Speaker, in accordance with Order 195, those of urgent nature, Order 160, committees may also be present. Mr. Speaker, motions may be debated and their consequential resolutions, if any. Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee urged the Ministry of Finance and other ministries to Parliament to do so. Mr. Speaker, committee report on annual budget estimate and related motions to the House. Attached to the business statement is the proposed schedule for committee reporting and motions on the annual budget estimate. Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee again reminds all committee chairpersons that to Friday the 28th, 2025, to transact business pending before the House prior to adjourning Synodine on Friday, 28th of March, 2025. Sitting on Monday and extended sitting. Mr. Speaker, the Business Committee proposes extended sitting beyond the prescribed sitting hours in the ensuing week, scheduled Monday through to Wednesday. Sitting of the House should commence at 12 noon. This is to allow committees to sit in the morning before plenary commences. Then on Thursday and Friday, business before adjourning Synodine. But Mr. Speaker, on Wednesday, the 26th of March, 2025, there will be a committee of the whole. The governor of the Bank of Ghana will come to brief the House on the circumstances leading to the collapse of the bank, of some banks and some financial institutions from 2013 to 2024. Minister of Interior to come to the House and brief us on Tuesday, the 25th of March, 2025, on the circumstances leading to the raid of the residence of the former governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Ernest Addison, on Wednesday, the 19th of March. Mr. Speaker, on the adjournment of the House. Mr. Speaker, as indicated earlier, the House is expected to adjourn Synodine on Friday, the 28th of March, 2025. In this regard, the Business Committee entreats all honorable members to continue to devote themselves to the scheduled business for the last week of the first meeting of the first session to enable the House takes this opportunity to sincerely commend your good self, your deputies, and all honorable members for the self-sacrifice and devotion to the business of the House throughout the first meeting. The Business Committee urges all honorable members to continue Honorable members to a close and also pray that Allah answers all our prayers. As we draw down the curtains on the first meeting, the committee also wishes all honorable members a restful Easter recess, hoping that we will all return in the best of health for the business of the second meeting. Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, in accordance with Order to the House, week, Mr. Speaker, I ask the Housing Department to capture the business statement in its entirety. Mr. Speaker, I so submit. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honourable members, the business statement for the ensuing week has been read to us by the Deputy Majority Leader. And this is the time. So let me open it up with the Deputy Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on page 2 of the business statement, the Deputy Majority Leader said, Committee of the Whole, the Governor of Bank of Ghana to brief the House on the circumstances leading to the collapse of the banks and financial institutions from 2013 to 2024. Mr. Speaker, I think the Deputy Leader needs to provide us at least the names of the banks. He said some banks. Because, Mr. Speaker, we are all aware that this House, Parliament, approved for the restructuring of the banks. Subsequently, there was a committee that was set up after a petition from Kobna Dufo. And many of these banks have cases in court. And if we are not careful and we are to entertain such in this House, we will actually be interfering in some work that the courts are doing. And I don't think that this House at the moment settle matters that Parliament itself have reports on matters that are before the courts. That is why I'm saying that if he is saying that to brief the House on the circumstances leading to the collapse of the banks, in what you put in the business statement, there is nothing like some, unless my is different from what you have. Because you said the Governor of Bank of Ghana to brief the House on the circumstances leading to the collapse of the banks. And I think this part of the business statement is actually is completely unnecessary. And I don't think that business statement, I realize that we'll be sitting on Monday, 24th. But what he failed to do is to, Deputy Leader, Standing Order 6, Decision Day. You need to make provisions for that. Some of them, we are not in support of it, and we are not going to cooperate with you with regards to that. So there must be provisions for Decision Day. And if you look at business statement, for instance, this your growth and sustainability levy, it is something we will not support. You want us to support it. Definitely, there are some of the issues that we are definitely not going to support. And Mr. Speaker, the first issue that I raised, I know that Deputy Majority Leader, but the most important thing is that if you cannot provide us the name of the banks, you said some, even though it's not captured, it is not necessary for the governor to come here to brief us. What the governor should concentrate now is the monetary policy, where he, as the governor, need to be able to work to control the cedi to the dollar, which is about 16 cedi to the dollar today. That is the work of the governor of Bank of Ghana. But not to come and brief us on settled matters that we have settled. So, Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Majority Leader should be guided about that. Honorable Samsonahi, you are a civil. So, Mr. Speaker, these are the preliminary work that I have. Mr. Speaker, if my senior colleague is offended like behaving, it is duly withdrawn. Honorable and he withdrawn.
Thank you very much. Let me give it to Honorable Sansahi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I take offense of what you have said. Learn to respect your elders. Learn to respect your seniors. You can't talk anyhow. You
Honorable Sansahi.
Equipped to learn to respect seniors. You are not a floor member. It is becoming your behavior these days. Learn how to respect and behave well. Mr. Speaker, through you, ask you to behave. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, I think I withdraw any fifth-time member of Parliament. But when you are heckling and behaving like a backbencher, I must draw your attention to the. So it's duly withdrawn.
Thank you. He has withdrawn. That's the mark of a gentleman. He has withdrawn. That is a mark of a gentleman. Honorable member for Dominic
said. He said the honorable member is behaving like backbenchers. I want to ask
honorable,
you, how do backbenchers behave?
Honorable member, he has.
Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. Speaker, the very topical matter of the Bank of Ghana governor coming to brief the House regarding the circumstances is so relevant. Honorable member for what to do. You are in the Speaker. It does not detract from the fact that any party aggrieved by the decision of the state to liquidate those banks can go to court or not. It does not detract from the fact. What Parliament does is to look into or hear from the governor. The official documents available says that the cumulative value of the investments involved in this matter was in the region of this House wants to appreciate the circumstances. Again, men's gold customers who also fall into that category. Investment totaling in substances. So this matter, it cuts across to suggest that it is not important, it is not relevant. It is the House that is making the call. So it should be patient for the governor to come. Reference to him, he must allow us to have. So, Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. If we can make progress on the other matters.
Yes, Honorable Yabwama.
Mr. Speaker, I don't think the House is against the coming of the governor to brief the House. But during the presentation on the banks, not some, we all know that Dr. Dufour's Unibank is in court. There's been a race at court. So we have to be very careful as a House. Recently, your colleague, the first Deputy Speaker, ruled on a certain matter which is on record, which led to the banking sector cleanup and the investment of over 20 billion Ghana cedis into restructuring some of the banks. Some of the banks have been consolidated. So, thirdly, with regards to the banks, especially Unibank, and also there was a Jogate committee that looked into some of the issues regarding the SDI to the governor, not to push him into making some statements here that can be contemptuous of the court. But I'm saying we should be very careful, Mr. Dafiamepo. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes. Honorable Member for Tafo.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've had the perusal of the business statement, and I've had discussions with the chairman of the Youth and Sports Committee, which report should be done on Wednesday or Friday with the chairman of the committee. So I will implore the business committee to take note. Mr. Speaker, secondly, this business statement confirms my suspicion. My suspicion that today I see the Minister of Defense here. A question that I filed, which the Minister for Defense was supposed to have been brought before this House, to tell this House how or what Mr. Japa was doing in the House of the time I'm raising this issue. and going through this to explain to us if on the 28th of March is shielding the Minister of Defense in doing so. And I'm not happy about this. It's the third time I'm raising this question. The question had a problem. The clerk gave it to me. I made the corrections that I was supposed to make. And today, the question is still not admitted, or the question is still not before the business committee, and they are not scheduling it. As to why it is so, is unfortunate. Mr. Speaker, I need your intervention in this. Thank you so much.
Honourable Member, I think with regards to the first issue, I think this is just a guide regards to when to take a committee's report. It's just a guide. Honourable Safi, are you listening to me? So I think as appropriate, we can amend it. This is just a guide as to how we are going to go about it. Yes, Honourable.
Speaker,
I'll come to you.
Speaker,
I'll come to you.
I'll
come to you.
My brother, Vincent Asifua, is raising an issue. First of all. Second, all the Honorable Defense Minister responsible for defense here, Jakpa that he speaks about, it's not a military officer. So if you file a question, Mr. Jakpa is alleged to have engaged in, then you are directing the question to the wrong quarter, if it can be guided. Because there's a minister that the appropriate minister can come and respond to. And for next week, so we can deal with those matters.
Let me go to
the majority chief whip present the business statement, and you are not to respond. The leader presented it, and if there are concerns, he is the one who's supposed to respond to them. But the majority whip cannot just do that. Rather than that, it's not.
If we allow anybody to respond, we will not have an orderly arrangement. The leader of the House is here, or the deputy majority leader who presented the business statement should be allowed to respond to members. That is he signed the business statement. Sometime. Let me listen to
President. Just respond matters into property. At the time that issue happened, there was nothing like a national security minister. So my question couldn't have been addressed to the national security minister. In any case, my question was to answer or to get the Minister of Defense to Noforiata. So please, let's put the matters into proper perspective.
To the majority leader to handle. You see, blackmailing you. You, leader, I'll come to you. Let him listen to Professor Nyako, then I'll come to you.
Mr. Speaker, thanks for indulging me. I've seen convention or practice in this House is that when questions are asked, we wait for the leader of the House to respond to them. So I will plead with Mr. Speaker and ask that we should allow them to respond to questions in groups as we used to do. If it is one-on-one, it's difficult. And thank you again, because the source are waiting for me. Now, I want to make some few observations so that I can attend to them. Number one, looking at our standing orders, Order 233, and I'm asking this question. I'm a ranking of that committee, able to hold any meetings. And I've brought it to the attention of the first deputy speaker and one of the deputy clerks. I'm pleading with the selection committee or the leadership of the House to address that anomaly. The spate of fire outbreaks in the country, especially in the Ashanti region, is becoming one too many. This morning, for example, there's fire outbreak in the Subi constituency at Adum. I want to play with you, and about 2 months ago, 2 fire outbreaks happened in a particular market at Kwadaso Wood Market. So I was affairs to frequent fire outbreaks in the country, especially within a space of a month. 4 mobile money vendors within Greater Kumasi have been robbed, and I understand and from. So if the Minister for Interior could be brought to the House to address these issues. I'm saying this because we have only 1 week to adjourn. I can file a question. According to Order 91, we have only a week to adjourn. Arrange for the Honorable Interior Minister to appear before us and let us know what is being done to ensure maximum protection and enhance security within Greater Kumasi, and also the local government minister addressing us on how to deal with the frequent fire outbreaks on the market. And I think that it will inure to our collective benefit. So, Honorable Defender, please, these are my concerns, and I know that our leader, Honorable Yareka, my very good friend, will find favor with my request and ensure that they are brought before the House. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think I'll give the floor to, I'll come back. Let me give the floor to the majority leader to respond to the earlier concerns, then we will take the second round. So, majority leader, may you take the podium. Are you standing there or you are coming here?
I will allow my deputy
to
continue with the responses. The meeting. You will see that it was signed for me by my deputy. So I wish to item 6, briefing of the House. Mr. Speaker, I have reached out to the Minister for the Interior. He's available on Tuesday to come and brief the House. And also that we cannot be bringing ministers to come and brief the House. The rules are clear. You want to ask the minister a question, you ask him a question. The House. The rules are clear on what is to be done, which is you ask the minister a question, he comes. If it's a statement a minister has to make, Clark uses the word leading to the read. Read is not an appropriate expression of what happened. And it is perfectly lawful. And so to use the word read is clearly wrong. So I want that deleted from the records, that this House describes what happened as read. You haven't even looked into it. You don't know the facts. You haven't been properly briefed, and you're already describing it as read. So the clerk should indicate that the briefing is not possible on Tuesday. I think that my deputy will
getting banks to come here, getting a governor to come here to answer questions on the bank, which my honorable friend referred to as unnecessary. It was a discussion with your leader. In fact, it was your leader who proposed that, and we enhanced it. So it's not something that, just found itself. There were some banks that were affected. I mean, those in 2013 and those in 2018, where about 400 or so financial institutions where licenses were revoked, including 9 banks. And that's what we're talking about. On the issue of the provisions you have mentioned will be provided. The other issues doesn't look like we're sticking to the business statement. But the issue of, my honorable brother, your question, and your questions are still not getting admitted, then perhaps they are lost. So you have to trace them. We have to trace where your questions are, or they need to be misdirected, to the appropriate place, because I have no idea. And I did suggest to you that we have to chase it up with Mr. Speaker, because questions are admitted by the Speaker. So if they've not found themselves its way here, then we have to trace it somewhere in the pipeline. The other issue I have here is to do with the committee on, and now the First Deputy Speaker is the chairperson of that committee. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, honorable members,
Mr. Speaker,
I think I need to make these corrections with regards to Honorable Sefu scheduled to come here based on the minister's availability and the arrangement the table and the leadership will have with the ministers. And we don't want a minister to come in such a way that when the minister is billed to come to the House, he has as many questions that they have as many questions to answer. The Minister for Defense has not been scheduled to come of the questions that he will come to respond. I don't share with the view that the question might have lost. I don't think it was not, so we'll send it back to the owner of the question to reframe it. So he did that, and I think it has been admitted. Any time the Minister for Defense is billed to come and respond to members, I believe Honorable asks a question and go back, and we do in such a way that when he comes, he will answer the many questions that members ask for the person. I hope this will rest the matter. Very well. Is it a different matter? Very well. Okay. No, let me listen to my brother first. My brother, you take the floor first before I come to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I make reference to the attachment of the business statement. Item number 1, the National Media Commission. Mr. Speaker, I will look at the estimate and reports of the National Media Commission. I propose that the Committee on Information and Communications look at the reports of this constitutional body. My proposal is based on the fact that there is a working collaboration between the National Media Commission and the National Communications Authority, where, for example, the National Communications Authority grants electronic media authorization, and the National Media Commission, on the other hand, regulates content of media. So on this basis, I think that it should be appropriate for the two committees to work, Mr. Speaker.
Very well. Yes, Honorable Safua.
Mr. Speaker, respectfully, I listened to the cannot summon an independent body or a minister of state to come to this house to brief this house on a matter that is of public interest. We were in this house when the business committee told us that they've summoned the Bank of Ghana governor to come here. And so if there's
Honorable Majority Leader, can you kindly listen to...
And so if there is a matter that is of public interest, like the fire outbreaks in Kumasi, or if like in the Ashanti region, because this is not the first time. We've had incidents of the Konongo fire outbreak. We've had the Kwadaso, about 2 of them, this morning in Edum. And because a question is not filed, the majority leader is telling this house that the minister cannot come here. The business committee itself, per our rules, can schedule the minister to come here because it's a matter of public interest. And I think that the minister, he himself, can come to this house per the rules to brief the house as to what his ministry is doing about it. And so, majority leader, with the greatest of respect, it's a matter of public importance, it's a matter of public interest. And I think that the minister, Somutu, or even by the business committee, can come to the floor and brief the house on the fire outbreak that is happening in Kumasi. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Safua, I think you didn't construe...
Fire outbreak anywhere in this country is a matter of concern. Whether Ashanti region, Eastern region, Greater Accra, wherever there's fire outbreak and there's damage to property and threat to life, it's a matter of concern. But you can raise it as a statement. There's fire outbreak, the details, whatever damage has been caused. In fact, you will have a lot of MPs joining to comment on those statements. Just last week, there was fire regarding the fire outbreak. So you can do that to prevent such outbreaks, or what he is doing to minimize the effect of such outbreaks. But, you know, to say that when there's a fire outbreak, the business committee should go and sit and schedule a minister to come and brief them, encouraging us to take advantage of the rules. You can write a statement, consult the speaker. Today the speaker will admit and allow you to make your statement. So don't make it look like there is fire outbreak in Ashanti region and I'm saying that the minister should not come and answer. No, I'm saying that you can make a statement about the fire outbreak here. You can also ask the minister a question about the fire outbreak, and those two mechanisms will secure you what you are seeking to achieve. Let's just keep to our rules.
Thank you very much. Lastly, I'll give it to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just on the basis that the leader of the House was speaking to my colleague, when the deputy leader was answering the question with regards, we said some of the banks. And my concern was that majority of the banks have cases in court. And we should not seem, your leader, Roxanne, will bully you with his law, but that is his senior at the bar. The majority leader is your senior, Roxanne. So I'm speaking to the majority leader. That if we get the names of these banks, then we'll be able to know which one is before a court of competent jurisdiction or not. And secondly, majority leader, on what basis is the governor coming here? Is it that a statement was made and then there should be a reference? Is it a question that was filed? Or on what basis is he coming or a question for him to come and brief us on that? So I think that we need to actually look at it critically. I listened to him when he said my leader was the one who also proposed that. But my High Court ruling, which is also part of the financial institutions that got their licenses revoked. So I think this one, we have to look have a problem with that. But definitely it is not good, and it will be good for Parliament for us to be attempting to look at issues that are before the court. And I think the first Deputy Speaker made a ruling on that. Matters before the court, we should not attempt to litigate it.
Speaker, fair enough, point taken. But as I said, this was initiated by your leader, by the minority leader. Today. So I think the majority leader will engage the minority leader to address these issues. He didn't give us a list. They can engage and come up with the list on both sides of the banks and financial institutions that he is talking about. And then we can enhance it with the ones we are also talking about. So,
as today is Friday, Mr. Speaker. Yeah, so I can contribute to the business statement. I came in to have a view for the work done, but importantly, Mr. Speaker, over the past weeks, I think a week or so, we had the X account of the President of the Republic hacked. And this became a very big issue. Instances whereby those who hacked in business. And up till today, we've not had much clarity in terms of how it happened, why the President's account had to be hacked, what is the state of our cyber security as a country. Beside the President, we have so many institutions, we have so many individuals whose accounts are being hacked. And I expected the business committee to see this as a matter of urgency and add it to the business governors. When the former governor's house was raided, they found the need to include it. And I'm saying that the account of the President, the number one gentleman of this land, if it has been hacked and we have not gotten any direction from this house to bring the Minister for Communication to come and speak to us on it and remedies to take this out, I think it is very important for the business committee.
Well, Honourable Member, thank you, Honourable Members. The business statement for the ensuing 11th week. Minority leadership
and proceed with the debates. Continuation with the debates.
Chief Whip must make sure that he brings his members in. So that as we debate, because based on the business statement, after today, Monday, the leaders are concluding. So you need to make sure that the empty seat out of his 187, as part of your members, is the defense minister here to debate. Should we include him? So get your members and then we can conclude on the debate.
Thank you very much.
Speaker, just for the records, the Budget, Gender, Children and Social Welfare Committee is meeting as we speak. Constitutional and Legal Affairs is meeting as we speak. Mr. Speaker, a lot of about 13 committees are meeting as we speak. So the House is not depleted because members are not within the presence of Parliament. There's the chairman for the Appointments Committee, the Honorable First Deputy Speaker, that their report is ready. So if I may pray that we go back and have that laid before we proceed with the continuation with the debate.
So it means we have to take the report first.
Exactly, yes. No, we'll lay it.
Oh, okay.
We'll
Let's see.
the debate up to a
Please, that
stage.
report is for the good of all of us.
Of course. Oh, Speaker, I agree. Yes.
Yes.
So, Mr. Speaker, is still even editing the report here. Because if it is laying on, but don't say the report is ready. The report is not ready. The report is not ready. Speaker, please. Speaker, my earlier this morning that it appears that my brother Habib has been prepared. If he sees the honorable notice of comments, she's not editing the report, so same can be corrected. It is in preparation for her debate on the comments on the report when it's taken. So it has nothing to do with the content, Mr. Speaker. So
yes.
A couple of months ago, you were here.
Honorable Chairman of the Appointment Committee, you may do so.
Fourteenth report of the Appointment Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as Administrator of District Assembly's Common Fund.
Honourable members, the report has been duly presented. I direct that the report be distributed to honourable members. Yes, so we will get back to item 7, which is, do you call it commentary or debate of the budget statement and economic policy? So I have the list, and I'll be calling them one after the other. But before I do so, the House to acknowledge another set of school. Incidentally, that is another school of the Deputy Speaker. Members. They are Christ the King Catholic Secondary School. They are being led by Francis Owusu Mensah, who is a teacher, and the school is located at Obuasi East. I think the Member of Parliament is here. Yes. And incidentally, this is the school I attended. It's a day school. I attended day school from Form 1 to Form 5. And I happen to be one of the prefects of the school. You may resume your seat now. We will begin, is it from majority or minority? Where? Begin with Honorable, I think Honorable Safia would like, you have 15 minutes.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the opportunity given to me to contribute and to comment on the 2025 budget statement in this august House to safeguard the sovereignty and territorial integrity of our dear nation. We also protect life as enshrined in the 1992 Constitutional Development. We also participate in peace support operations internationally, and that enhances Ghana's international cooperation. Our vulnerabilities are many. It includes illicit activity, coastline that must be defended against piracy and seaborne crimes. Additionally, Ghana is challenged conflicts between herdsmen and local communities. Putting all these together, His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces, is prioritizing the welfare of commissioned and non-commissioned officers. In this fiscal year, Mr. Speaker, over 6 billion Ghana cedis have been allocated to cater for compensation of employees, goods and services, capers, and other things that the ministry engages in. It must be placed on record that the outstanding indebtedness in terms of claims is almost 3.7 billion Ghana cedis. And Mr. Speaker, this includes indebtedness to food suppliers, supply and repair of equipment, provision of machinery should not and must not march on empty stomachs. However, Mr. Speaker, food suppliers have even threatened to halt supplies to the Ghana Armed Forces. This is because government's indebtedness to them dates back December, and that is like 17 months. This indebtedness is 275 million Ghana cedis and over. I'm glad to report that with prudence and the unfolding visible competent management of the fiscal space, the Minister for Finance has promised to be current on current claims as he takes steps to creatively settle the huge arrears. Mr. Speaker, this year, the ministry will continue to implement the end dollar payment policy and contribute troops and equipment towards international peacekeeping through innovation and cost-effective strategies during the coming year. Has been allocated to the ministry for CAPEX. Mr. Speaker, to ensure peace and security across the country, the Ghana Armed Forces will collaborate with other security services in the following operations: cow leg, and we are already on course regarding that, and control environmental degradation. We will also apply part of the CAPEX mechanized battalion at Boko.
Honorable Minister, hold on. Honorable members, I beg of you today, the heckling must go down. Honorable Safwa, what is it?
Honorable Speaker, I rise on Order 119 of the Standing Orders. I read, to the largest extent possible, but may read extras from written, printed, or electronic documents in support of the member's submission, or may refresh the member's memory by reference to notes.
Thank you. Honorable Minister,
clearly,
it's reading the extract. It's just like the extract.
Mr. Speaker,
I've noted your concern. Honorable Minister, please go on.
I guess my posture also to the honorable member. We are also determined to complete the Afari Military Hospital this year and operationalize it. This, you even have some pilots who have in the past left the service very, very young. We are also determined to provide the Ghana Air Force with air assets. Mr. Speaker, last but not least, is to enhance the capacity of the men and women in uniform. And this includes supporting the National College of Defense Studies, the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, GAFC, so that our men and women in uniform will have the needed information, will be exposed to the most current technologies, including simulators that can help them defend our territory and guard us in fight against people who may want to disturb the peace
of areas where we are having chieftaincy disputes in peace, whilst traditional means are used to address such disputes. Mr. Speaker, I wish to express my appreciation and thanks to you for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me turn to Honorable. Patrick, I've mentioned your name, so take the floor.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. On the 11th of March this year. Mr. Speaker, I'll begin by pointing out some policy inconsistencies in the presentation made to paragraph 157 at page 32 of the budget statement. And I read with your permission. Mr. Speaker, S&P Global Ratings on the 14th of October 2024 affirmed Ghana's local currency issuer ratings at CC+, with stable outlook and foreign currency issuer ratings, selective debt, and what have you. Mr. Speaker, using part of the minister reflect an economy that repayment harms mismanagement and a lack of accountability, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, in the same breath, the minister almost got choked on the floor when he announced the growth rate of the economy to be 5.7% during the budget, 35.7 of the Constitution. That and programs commenced by the previous governments. Mr. Speaker, what did we hear from the minister on that said date? He alluded to paragraph 15, a list of to complete. The question that I want to ask the NDC administration is that, how will the people in the Upper East, the Bogatanga-Pomankuma Road, feel when the Minister of Finance comes to the floor to say that it's going to take him another 12 years to complete that road, years to complete the PTC interchange? How will the people from Circle to Techiman feel when the Speaker, you have a minister allocating a whopping sum of 279 United States dollars to an entity that is non-existent, and I'm referring to the Gold Board. It says that an entity that does not have the capacity to pay for the expenditure from the approved estimates as appropriated to bring before us the said Gold Board, which a bill has been laid. But smart as he was, and a whooping 1 billion Ghana cedis has been allocated for compensations. So doing the estimates, we would want to know the beneficiaries of that 1.1 billion Ghana cedis that he's made allocation for, because all those entities under other government services. Mr. Speaker, we cannot, as a House, overlook the very importance of our diplomatic relations, Mali, Niger, and La Côte d'Ivoire. We commend the President for taking up those steps by visiting our neighbors. But the policy inconsistency is whether or not the government, having visited countries under military rule, who are being pushed by the AU and the ECOWAS to return to democratic rule, is not sending a bad signal across the world. We want some consistency in our foreign relations because, Mr. Speaker, our Constitution enjoins the President under Article 40 and 75 to ensure that good neighborliness is adhered to and that the President respects democratic tenets across the sub-region. Mr. Speaker, thirdly, we are told that the government, I don't understand. There's nowhere in the world jurisdictions because the returns are not, cannot be measured in terms of those who stay within the country to work. So what we expect government to see manifesto launch, unveiled a plan to create 1.7 million jobs, Mr. Speaker. How is the President going to create that 1.7? He said under the Jumara project, he was going to create 10,000 jobs. Mr. Speaker, if you take your calculator and divide 276 constituencies with 10,000 jobs over 4 years, how many jobs is he going to create under that program? 1.5 billion has been allocated to the agricultural sector. Is it a sum or an amount that is needed to be able to create that great agricultural transformation that the president is the youth of this country into voting for the NDC? And we believe that the president and his program, which he delivered on the floor. The Speaker, if you read delivered and delivering, he listed a lot of programs and got thumbs up from the majority that, oh, betting tax, delivered, that delivered. But here is the same minister who is meeting with the finance committee to look at those revenue bills. So have those policies been delivered or is now in the process of delivering? Has the government stopped the collection of taxes on e-levy as we speak? Has the government stopped the collection of the emission tax as he claims to have delivered? So what has he delivered? Legislation. So if the my goodness. The Speaker, this is a house of record. The minister has not delivered on those programs that he alluded to on page 123 of the budget. And we call on him to withdraw those remarks. The Speaker, as we speak today, none of those taxes have been abolished. He is still collecting them. And we want him to be honest with the good people of this country. When he presents the mid-year review, Mr. Speaker, budget, we will check the amount of money he's collected between January and the time of the... We'll be looking at that. We'll be looking at that, Mr. Speaker, because he cannot come here and throw dust into the eyes of the good people of this country. On that note, I thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for your...
Thank you very much. Honorable members, the two gentlemen who have spoke within their time. Now, I think, so let me invite Honorable Samsahi. Samsahi, you are Minister, Deputy Minister. You have, is it 15 minutes?
20 minutes.
What was the arrangement, please?
20 minutes, eh?
Deputy Ministers are...
20 minutes.
10.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, hold on. Let me be clear with it. I have 10 minutes or 15 minutes. That's what I want to know. Minutes.
Yes,
15
for ministers and deputies, 10 minutes.
No,
thank you.
Minister 15 minutes and deputy 10 minutes.
Yes.
Very well. So, Honorable Samson, you have 10 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
So now, 10 minutes, you can read it from your set as to how it's utilizing this time.
Mr. Speaker, you have already taken 1 minute to the budget statement and economic policy of government for the year ending 31st December 2025. Mr. Speaker, I can say that this is the first time in the presented of the economy. Mr. Speaker, it is strange and I'm surprised that all of us here who believe in God, but all of you in the minority haven't listened to the budget, haven't read the budget. None of you have spoken, have seen any positive thing in the budget. All that you have sought to do, all of it, you know, it's your constituents. One, Mr. Speaker, 489.9 first-year students, bro, I'm a response. Students for make use fees. Is it a good policy or bad policy? Go and tell your constituents. Let's be a little objective and fair to the budget. Don't create 1 million. Can any of you say that this is a bad policy? Haven't you seen this important program? Haven't you seen this laudable program benefit? Is it good or bad? Be patriotic. Be patriotic. Mr. Speaker, another important program which I expect my colleagues, 5 million has been allocated to support victims. Minority, what else do you want? This is the time Nana Addo told Ghanaians that them. He didn't do anything about it. A new government comes in and he has allocated so much to alleviate their suffering. You don't see this to be a positive development. Who are you people? What are you people at all? What are people are you?
Honorable Samson.
Mr. Speaker.
Honorable. Just withdraw that. Who are you? Withdraw it.
It's withdrawn, Mr. Speaker. But are you not surprised? But are you not surprised that they haven't seen anything positive about this budget? With all this that I'm mentioning, Mr. Speaker, that none of us here will use 1 cedi 50 pesos to feed our children. We use 1 cedi 50 pesos. Anything positive development about this? We spent 1 cedi 50 pesos. 2 cedis and 1 cedi 50 pesos. Which one is better? Minority, these my friends, they campaigned and misinformed Ghanaians that if they vote to teacher training students, Mr. Speaker, this budget has allocated 480 million Ghana cedis for nursing training allowance. Mr. Speaker, what else do you want? What else do you want? So, Mr. Speaker, I think that the minority has taken a decision that they will never see any good thing about whatever President Mahama government do to support Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, there is a fundamental problem with our economy. Structural always depreciate against the dollar and then the pounds. Why won't the cedi depreciate? When we are not producing, you come into government, you couldn't do anything about production. You couldn't do anything about production. Under the guise of one district, one factory, you build processing factories. The factories have become no raw materials to feed this industry sport, to ensure that we create jobs for Ghanaians youth, and then we create wealth for Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, and for that matter, this government is going to work to industrialize Ghana. This government area to go and then construct a mini factory so that after production of the mango, there will be a factory to process the mango into mango juice, which Buama you always drink before you come to Parliament. Mr. Speaker, we are going to establish processing plant, a factory for cassava, for tomatoes, for fruits at Buru East and the Ahafo regions. What else do you want? What do you have a cocoa processing factory? We seek to address the problems, the challenges that we face as Ghanaians. Mr. Speaker, what we need to do is to support this government and not the fact that you have been brought here to come and criticize because you have nothing, you haven't seen anything positive about the budget. There are good things which your constituents are going to benefit. So when you see a white thing, say it is white. But you are becoming the person, when he sees white, he says that he has seen black. It's not good for you. Change. Ghanaians don't like the attitude of the minority that every time you have to criticize. Even when you see positive things, you say you have seen negative things. Please change from your attitude. Otherwise, you will remain in opposition for more than 30 years.
Thank you.
With this your attitude, you will never see power again.
Thank you,
So,
Honorable
Mr. Speaker,
Sansani.
to conclude, please, Mr. Speaker.
Have you seen? You watch the time yourself.
I think that this is a good budget, which all of us, including Mr. Speaker, that will support the President to implement this budget so that all Ghanaians, including members of Parliament.
Yes, Honorable Mexican leader, I'll come to you. You want to value the, but let me take the second one so that it will be 2-2. Then you do the. So, Honorable George Abuaje, you may take the floor as ranking. 15 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the statement of His Excellency the President.
Honorable Member, may I kindly invite you to go to your seat?
Okay.
Okay.
So I have to borrow a seat.
Very well. Go on.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the debate of the budget statement presented to this August House. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the budget statement, the theme for the budget statement is resetting the economy for the Ghana we want. Mr. Speaker, my understanding of resetting is either better or worse. But that is my understanding of resetting. But Mr. Speaker, what are we seeing? Let me start with GMPC. GMPC was given carried interest of 280 finance of $138.4 million US, and GMPC share of net carried and participating interest of 142.89 million. That is 2024. But yes, PC is being given $192.67 million US as their equity, and the share of the net carried and participating interest of GIPC is $53.52 million US. Mr. Speaker, is this what we call resetting? No. Mr. Speaker, I'm sorry. So, per what I've said, is it worst or best?
It is worst. It is worst.
Mr. Speaker, GMPC is a strategic vehicle for state participation in Ghana's upstream oil and gas industry, in which they are there for us to get the inflows from the IOCs, whatever comes out every year from the international oil company. 2024, their net participation interest is $142 million. But this year, you are giving the same company $53 million. What do you expect the company to do? Do you want the company to continue working, or you want to collapse the company? Mr. Speaker, this company works with IOCs, a very powerful entities. They are very powerful. They have the capabilities. They have the knowledge. They have the in-depth knowledge about strategic entity like GMPC. This is the level we've brought GMPC to. Mr. Speaker, I would say they've been soft change. So, Mr. Speaker, when you look at this budget, Mr. Speaker, the theme for this year's budget is, Mr. Speaker, we talk about energy security. What is energy security? Assuming there is a war, assuming, Mr. Speaker, how are we ability for security? That is why it is the Chachu-Chikata GMPC we are talking about. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about Chachu-Chikata GMPC. This is not the idea of GMPC. Mr. Speaker, GMPC in 1983 was established to carry along the Ghanaian upstream oil and gas production. But Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, at that time, GMPC was assigned 55% of the carried interest. Then in 2014, the first John Mahama administration reduced it to 30%, Mr. Speaker. And now they are reducing it to 15%.
Too bad.
Mr. Speaker, how can GMPC perform? But it's like we don't see the achievement of GMPC. Mr. Speaker, with your permission, let me read section 16 by 893, equity financing cost, including advances and interest of the carried and participating interest of the Republic. Carried, Mr. Speaker, why and production expenditure. The GMP expenditure and capital. Last year, they were giving the same company, you are giving $53 million for capital and operational expenditure. What do you expect such a company to do? GMPC, Mr. Speaker, is a strategic company. GMPC, as I know, Mr. Speaker, they make sure that we have oil and gas, and they partner the IOCs in this country. The IOCs being international oil companies. Mr. Speaker, without their capabilities, how can they partner these IOCs? Mr. Speaker, how will they perform if we are cutting over 60% of their revenue? Mr. Speaker, the finance minister should come to this house and explain to us why are they cutting over 60% of GMPC's equity finance? Mr. Speaker, it means we don't want GMPC to perform the work that has been mandated to them. Mr. Speaker, we are downsizing everything. As I'm speaking to you, GMPC is at the Volta Basin now, exploring for oil. So what do you want GMPC to do with their subsidiary Esproco? We have in this world national industry companies like Equinor of Norway, Petrobras of Brazil. Mr. Speaker, what do? They've been able to transform to multinational companies. Look at what we are doing to GMPC. Mr. Speaker, we have to take a proper decision. And Mr. Speaker, you hear at the corners that, GMPC receivables or GMPC, what we give to GMPC, they are net neither. Mr. Speaker, what we hear all over the place is what we want GMPC is not what they are doing. But Mr. Speaker, and we have oversight responsibility over GMPC's programs. So why can't we, And at the same time, we are saying GMPC is shifting their core mandate. Mr. Speaker, how can we continue in this way? So, Mr. Speaker, what is happening? Mr. Speaker has to electricity. That also talks about the weighted average cost of gas, in which he said is going to increase the price from 7.836 to 8.45 per metric million British thermal unit. That is MMBTU. Mr. Speaker, when it happens so, and at the same time, the minister also talked $11 per MMBTU, estimated as a 7-year moving average, line with the PRME. Mr. Speaker, which is which? Because we are talking about increasing the time. He's talking about 7-year average of the price from 7.11 per MMBTU. Mr. Speaker, everywhere you hear NDC's members talking about 24-hour economy, and you are here increasing gas price up to this level. What is going to happen to the generation aspect?
It will be affected negatively.
We have a 68% thermal production unit, Mr. Speaker, in the generation mix of this country. That uses fuel, that is the gas. Mr. Speaker, what is going to happen is there's going to be an increase in the electricity tariff.
Sure.
Already the minister has said there will be a periodic increase in electricity tariff. What even killed the cat ice in fourth quarter economy? Mr. Speaker, in recent...
Thank you.
Yeah, in conclusion, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you.
In recent...
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, in the recent Energy Committee, access to electricity is a fundamental human right.
Yes.
Without it, countries cannot thrive. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, let me recognize the Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. To apply for your leave to vary, to basically halt the budget comment temporarily so we can take item 13, which is a motion 30, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Minority Leadership.
Mr. Speaker, I don't know whether you said majority leadership.
Mr. Minority Leadership.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, we don't have any difficulty with what the deputy leader is saying. I don't know why the backbenchers are saying very soon.
Well. So honorable members, I will invite you to page 4, item listed 13. Page 4, item listed 13 in today's order paper. The chairman of the appointment committee. But chairman, hold on. Let me acknowledge at the speaker's gallery, Ms. Farida Bedri, IT consultant and disability right advocate, is here to also witness the chamber and members of parliament. So, my dear sister, you are welcome, and we wish you well.
Yes, Speaker, thank you very much for the opportunity. I rise to move the motion numbered 13.1 of the standing orders. Sitting days have elapsed after the 14th report of the appointment committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as administrator of this Assembly Common Fund may be moved today. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Yes, the Vice Chairman of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I second the motion. Thank you.
Very well, honorable members, this is procedural motion. So I'll go ahead to put the question. As many as I, we will move on to.
Mr. Speaker, the 14th report of the Appointment Committee on His Excellency the President's nomination for appointment as Administrator of District Assembly Common Fund. Mr. Speaker, in doing so, I present your committee's report. Mr. Speaker, the committee vetted the nominee in the person of Mr. Michael Harry Yamson. Right Honorable Speaker, at the vetting, salient questions were posed. Mr. Speaker, I will urge the Hansard Department to capture the entire report as having been read, whilst I speak about some excerpts from the report. Mr. Speaker, questions and political affiliation of the great National Democratic Congress was also posed to him, and he has responded to saying his contribution, social contribution at Bremer was also posed to him. Social intervention project in Cape Coast, the national service, the payment of the assembly members, among others, were posed to him, and he has provided honest answers to the questions. Mr. Speaker, the committee, by the President's nominee, in the person of Michael Ishmael Yamson, as the Administrator of District Assembly's Common Fund. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Listed 14 has been moved. Deputy Leader of the Minority.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to plead to the House. This has been endorsed with the consensus by the committees and endorse the nomination of the administrator of highly excited. Because I acknowledge the fact that this is the second opportunity to be the president of this country. Mr. Speaker, I remember vividly that when we first joined the Parliament, yes, the appointment of the new administrator of the Common Fund, therefore, it means that this time around, His Excellency means business and would like to facilitate would like to ensuring that the institutions and all the organs that are supposed to perform for the next 4 years are in place. In doing so, I'd like to also add my voice for members to endorse the nomination of Yamson. Mr. Michael Harry Yamson will be remembered. If you look at the background and you read the background, you realize that he was actually trained by the Catholics, and in the Catholic space, to the fact that the honorable nominee of Mr. Yamson is an affirmation of the fact that his integrity is not in doubt. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to also mention that his eligibility and competencies are not in doubt either. It is, if you look at the background of his work experience, it will attest to the fact that Mr. Yamson is a seasoned leader, siding on 6 different boards as we speak now. And it tells you who that personality, being trained as a leader or being trained in the Unilever leadership is a proven fact that Mr. Nyamson, if given approval as the administrator of Common Fund, will bring to bear innovative policies that will bring about transparency in the disbursement of the Common Fund and the application of the... To also note that his responsibility is to Parliament. And I would like to note that when he was questioned, address for which he has boldly indicated NDC in the midst of numbers and figures that have been configured out there, he proudly admitted that he is the administrator, if he is approved, that his responsibility is toward the minority. And I would like to advise that under no circumstance should there be any discriminatory treatment of the common committee. If the government is paying the monthly salary or monthly allowances for the assembly members, it is not going to decline the funds that of mine. As to how these allowances are going to be treated, because it already, we know that it's honorable members of the assembly are being paid is in addition, or is not going to be paid in addition. Is it the only allowances that is going to be paid? I know that is going to be borne by the president, but there exist some allowances. And Mr. Speaker, as a result of that, I also took note that it is always applied through innovative policies. So I would also, the honorable or admitted of the implementation of the Affirmative Action Act. And it is important that we take note. PWD funds is also assigned, and the special schools are built out of that fund. That was the assurance given at the vetting. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, nomination, 3 words, I conclude, Mr. Speaker.
It is now before the House for consideration. Like I said earlier on, this particular motion is for the good of all of us. It's for the good of all of us. So if there's no, and the question is, as many as are in favor of the motion listed 14 in today's order paper, say aye. Those against say no. Honorable members, the ayes have it. The motion listed 14 into...
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity. On behalf of Yamson, I want to thank the appointment committee as well as the entire House for giving him the nod. Mr. Speaker, once again, thank the House very much.
Thank you very much for thanking the appointment committee and the House. I'm so grateful. Yes, leadership.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for granting the debate on continuing from item 7. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
It's the turn of Honorable Comfort. I believe after her contribution, the entire House will be flooded with chocolates. Yes, Honorable Comfort, let's hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Policy, presented by the Finance Minister. Mr. Speaker, I would like to take the opportunity to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama I'm thanking him because in this budget, he has appreciated women. Mr. Speaker, my joy is this Women Development Bank. Mr. Speaker, this bank is going to be in the market. And as a daughter of a market and knows how the market women used to struggle to get money to finance their businesses. I thank His Excellency for walking the talk. I thank him for giving us the Vice President to proceed in his tenure as Vice President. Mr. Speaker, this Women Development Bank, we are praying for those who will manage it. Maslow came, and the idea was Maslow to support small businesses. But Mr. Speaker, if you go to Maslow now, enjoy what is Speaker. As are rich men, those who have enjoyed Maslow are big companies. The cars that are for the poor street boy, go and check the list and check the names. Leader, we have interest in our women. So all those who are gone for those loans, Mr. Speaker, the people who went for the loans from Maslow, they know themselves. Allow the debate to flow. Those who went...
Honorable members, as I'm speaking, if a member is speaking and he makes a statement or comment that you think is not right or is not reacted on it, this kind of interaction,
let's important matter, effect that we can pass it on to our members. My colleague, the First Deputy Majority Whip, was misinforming the House. The figures as declared by the Electoral Commission is 41%, and there's no 38% anywhere. Yes. So you cannot actually inaccurate to say that it's factually inaccurate to say that the MPP had 38% in the just ended election. What was declared by the Electoral Commission was 41%. So where is that coming from? So you should withdraw that. It's not part of the record.
Honorable members, as I said, I'm repeating it. As much as I appreciate where the minority should be generating to this, people to address that particular issue, please, other than that, we can't get on. I want the debate to flow. Yes, leader.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I think we made this very clear from the very point you raised, and it's not your turn. Give it to somebody else. I mean, you're a leader. If you do that, you actually disrupt, the flow of the debate. Mr. Speaker, let's continue with the debate. Thank you very much.
Please, I beg of you, let's follow. It's for the good of all of us. So,
Mr. Speaker,
leader, may continue.
What I was saying is just simple. But those loans to themselves. Mr. Speaker, I'm speaking with evidence. Those who went for the loans, I will tender the evidence. It's here, I will tender it. Mr. Speaker, the rich went for the Maslow loan. It won't happen in the Women Development Bank. It's for small scale and women in the market. So that is exactly what we are going to do. And we are going to restructure the loans in Maslow too. Those who are owing, those rich companies that are owing, we have all the list. Go and pay who is in power. And if we are going to ensure that this money gets to the poor. Mr. Speaker, As I'm speaking with you, leave have been increased. Mahama has increased leave, and now the poor who enjoy the leave are going to benefit from what have been given now. As I'm speaking to you, Mr. Speaker, for household. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we picked the information, or last week we picked the information, MPs are not aware. We want to tell them that they should hold on till we get the MNDCs and DCs so that they can monitor what they are doing. This time, it is not going to be easy for those of them who feel the poor, the money that belongs to the poor, they should take advantage and enjoy it. Misinterest in the people they will register to enjoy this money, because we have to make sure the money gets to the poor. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to school feeding, you can see that we have moved it from 1 cedi 50 pesos to 2 cedis. Mr. Speaker, I've already invited the school feeding CEO or director to come because of what we are hearing, that a lot of ghost names in these school feedings. Mr. Speaker, we will not take it, because they should freeze everything and investigate for us to take away the ghost names. Caterers should apply so that we can see, as we are speaking, if we pay, we'll pay a lot of ghost schools. Monies will go to people in homes that they are not cooking for any children. I know the woman will come. Madam Fatih, if you are hearing me, we are waiting for you. As a chairperson of Women Caucus, we will not women. We are not happy as mothers, because it is our responsibilities, and our oversight responsibility is to monitor all these things so that those who are to benefit. Mr. Speaker, I would like to thank His Excellency John Dramani Mahama again. We were in this house when I came here, and I told this house that girls in the rural communities are suffering when it comes to menstrual period. Mr. Speaker, we made a point. We visited some of the factories, and we were dancing Sisifia on platform. Mr. Speaker, that day I tender evidence. Once they couldn't solve it, they should give me back my evidence, because now all the villages, those children who are not entered, I want to assure those who are using the old type that is over for now. This one is over for now. The other time, the 2 months they didn't do it. Mr. Speaker, what school children in the rural communities should, those who bring it should stamp it so that we will know the difference between the one that is free and the one that is. You educate a nation. We should have mercy on the poor. What kind of rich men are we that we don't want to think about? Who took the Maslow loan? Go and pay. Those who are doing the ghost cooking for the school children. Please, Mr. Speaker, make sure we freeze the payment for now. We pay them. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I thank you for the opportunity.
Honorable members, ranking, you have 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the commentary on the 2025 budget and economic policy as it's presented to this House by the Finance Minister. Mr. Speaker, I will concede that I am not an enemy. Mr. Speaker, the most important claim of or thing that this budget sought to do is to reduce excessive spending and cut down on profligacy. But Mr. Speaker, when you look at the budget, it does the opposite. It's a complete set of contradictions and what I'm tempted to call the great deception. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, government's total spending has increased. Needs of Ghanaians is not where the big monies are going to. A government that is seeking to reduce ministries, reduce ministers, unfortunately is running a very huge budget. Honorable Samson Ahi sought to draw some parallels. He mentioned areas that are receiving allocations, and about 4 or 5 of them, he talked about support for secondary advising between what the allocation was and what is being sent to the presidency. Mr. Speaker, the resetting agenda, this government campaigned on a lot of populism and propaganda. Mr. Speaker, to OGM, away from 326 million from your predecessor, and then you come and locate 51 million to Ghanaian women across the country. Mr. Speaker, we have 16 regions. For simple arithmetic, let's just decide to divide this 51 million by the 16 regions. Are you telling me we should take 3 million seats to Ashanti region to go and share for women? Wow, look at that. Mr. Speaker, the implication is that I fear for my honorable members on this side of the house, huge promises of money that is coming. And it turns out that having gotten an overwhelming victory, those on whose wings you rose amounts of money. We even pray and hope, Mr. Speaker, that these monies will actually go as it is. But the commitment is zero. And the earlier Ghanaian women brace themselves up for it, Mr. Speaker, the better. You are giving 70 million. Can you do that? Right away, the commitment to achieve this initiative is nil. With 99 and 100 of this budget, your allocation is under $1 billion. Yet you are allocating 2.7 billion to think that, Mr. Speaker, there is very little that is going to be achieved there. The big push has been selective. The big push who voted overwhelmingly for the, and the match talk that to you appears to be a deception. And to you appears to be a deception. And very soon, Mr. Speaker, they're trying to catch up with our friends on this side of the house. Ghanaian youth. The NDC again packaged a lot of lofty promises and wrote on their backs to win power. Mr. Speaker, it's a very sad story ever since this government assumed the reins of power. Ghanaian youth are being sacked from their jobs. The jobs promised are not coming, and the attempt is to try and get rid of people who are in to replace with others. Mr. Speaker, not a day passes without we reading from the news. NDC youth seizing offices in Kumasi and in Accra because the jobs that they look up to is not existent, it's not forthcoming. And if you cannot create jobs, you don't go sacking people who have been in employment before you came. The challenge is that people are losing their right to work and live decently in this country as Ghanaian youth. And it's important, Mr. Speaker, that I hope in realizing those initiatives. And again, I want to put on record that Ghanaian youth will soon see exactly what it is that you promised in those promises. If you look at the budget, one major issue that plagues our country is how we secure our water bodies and ensure that we have potable drinking water. Mr. Speaker, today, Galamsey is on the ascendancy. It has become the most lucrative job in this country by those who care to engage in it. The amount of campaign that this government, in opposition then, made around Galamsey, one would have thought that...
Honorable Mensah Kosa, let me interject by announcing that I'm ceding the chair to the first deputy speaker. So you may go on. This one hasn't spoken. I just jumped. I just jumped to this.
Honourable Member, continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Galamsey today, as I was saying, and the earlier we checked it, the better. That's sort of work. You have people engaged in this activity who are able to confront armed security. Then your immediate attempt to deal with some of our young brothers and sisters for some collaboration between the ministries who are engaged in issues of water to find a way to solve this problem, because there is no way that the initiative that we are being told is going to secure those important amenities. Today we are told by the Minister for Lands that of our 44 forest reserves, 9 of them have been taken over by Galamseyers. And if you want to fight such a menace, you don't go getting blue water guards to do the leader just left. But, Mr. Speaker, I note an allocation of 7 billion plus is important as a country if we really want to deepen decentralization and ensure that our local initiative to develop is carried through. We don't pay lip cycle, and I think we need to move away from it. Again, Mr. Speaker, we on this side are not against the payment of what you call allowances to assembly members. No. In our local governance practice is to ensure that we deepen decentralization and people's involvement in decision making. It is good to resource assembly members, but the down ebb is the local, at the local authority is the presidency's budget of 2.7 billion, and come and resource unit committee members, just as we are doing for assembly members. In addition to what we want to do for assembly members, let us think about unit committee members, so they can also... Parliamentary has happened around the budget, and from all indications, the prioritization of our needs got lost on things that people were looking out for in terms of lifting them out of the doldrums, giving hope to the Ghanaian, fighting poverty. All those critical areas missed out in getting critical needs or allocation to deal with them. And I think that on this note, Mr. Speaker, I would say we seem to be resetting in the negative. We better begin and make sure that it gets attention and then gets its goal that it was intended for. Mr. Speaker, with these few words, I want to thank you for your indulgence. I'm grateful.
Thank you, Honourable Member. We are with you.
Mr. Speaker, I'm ranking. 15 minutes.
Well, if you are ranking, that should be 15 minutes.
Thank you very much.
You have 15 minutes as ranking.
For the opportunity to also make comments on the budget statement presented to this House by the Honourable Minister for Finance, Honourable Cassiel Atuban Folsom, by virtue of the fact that he was Deputy Minister for Finance for 4 years. He was ranking member for Finance for 8 years. And so he is not one of those finance ministers who was plucked from the private sector and planted on the economy. He is very seasoned. And by reason of that, he has delivered to us a very realistic and modest budget. I'm surprised that our colleagues are saying that the budget, it is not a budget of deception. The budget is intended to address current concerns of most Ghanaians who gave their overwhelming mandate to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama and the NDC. And so, we are not here to bandit figures. They are busy banding figures around. But let me tell you, they will not help you because you people have destroyed this economy. And then we have come to repair the economy. And you are busy telling us about growth of 5.7%. Let me find out from you your growth rate. You see, in the run-up to the 2000 elections, listen, on the back of building roads, infrastructural development, and you people went around saying that we don't eat roads. We were saying roads and then the infrastructure. Telling us that you grew the economy by 5.7%. Growth of the economy. We are talking about the welfare of Ghanaians. We are talking about the welfare of Ghanaians. We are coming to improve upon the living conditions. Who is figures? This budget brings hope to the workers of Ghana. This budget brings hope to the youth of Ghana. This budget brings hope to the women of Ghana, brings hope to the men of Ghana. That's what this budget is about to achieve. Even ISE, Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research, says that the budget inspires hope. And listen to what ISE said. And this is captured, it finds expression in the daily graphic of Wednesday. 2025 budget is release provided for in the 2025 budget inspires hope to help reduce hardships on citizens and not figures about 5.7% growth. Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Honorable Dr. Asamoah Fletcher complained that this budget forgot to say was that Ghanaians lived under an Azar government for 8 years and under 8 Azar budgets. We have come to repair the Azar budget that you left behind, the Azar economy that you left behind. That's what we have come to repair. I'm very, very happy and excited that this government is bringing back on board the rural head of state, Dr. J.J. Rawlings. This time, we are getting 100 million Ghana cedis to support rural electrification. And that will benefit all of us, 4 hours economy. Our colleagues have tried to poo-poo the 24-hour economy as not being a viable policy. In fact, Honorable Kojo Opon Nkrumah described it as, when we had the budget workshop, we brought the Venerable Guzitano, the advisor to the president on the 24-hour economy, to come and explain to you what the 24-hour economy is about. And I'm sure that you understood everything, because at the end of the lecture, you have no questions to ask. And after the man has left, then you come and then you are asking questions. The expert was here, you should have asked him all the questions. You failed to do so. You failed to do so. And when he had the of roads, and yet we have not seen much on roads. At least the Upper West region did not see any evidence of year of roads in their 2004 budget. They allocated 3.5 billion Ghana cedis to the road sector against a budgeted amount of 4.1 billion Ghana cedis. However, Mr. Speaker, they left behind a debt of 22 billion Ghana cedis by the end of 2024, without anything to show. Every sitting, you call the new Minister of Roads, and you are talking about the roads in your constituency. What did we use the 22 billion Ghana cedis for? Region, in particular, are in a very terrible state. As for the Bamboe Wenchi Road, we made a statement on the floor of this house about the condition of that road. Mr. Speaker, it is in the commercial passenger vehicles. All concerned, we used to spend 18 hours on the same road. 6 hours in excess of the time that ordinary we should be using. Mr. Speaker, this year, in this year's budget, the minister, they are 3.4 billion in 2014. Sure, that amount is relatively smaller, but it is not the size of the money, it's how effectively you use your money. And so, in spite of the fact that the amount appears to be small, allocating Wenchi Road, it is very, very important, and also probably allocate something for the development of the roads in the Upper West region, which are in a very deplorable state. Mr. Speaker, let me talk about my own constituency. In 2020, the then President, Nana Akufo-Addo, came to Laura, that was 2020 November, and cut the sword for the construction of the Depe Bridge. It is sad to note. And in fact, as I speak, the site has been taken over by reptiles and the rodents. And yet this is an important bridge which will link not only Laura to Burkina Faso. So I use this opportunity to appeal to His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama that he should find time. He should find time. In fact, not only find time, he should do his best to ensure that this bridge is constructed in the course of his term. I cannot ask him to appear in the 2022 budget and 2023 budget, and so it will take a bit of time to restore it. But that is my appeal to His Excellency the President. Mr. Speaker, President John Dramani Mahama described the economy during the Nana Akufo-Addo's era as being criminally managed. Let me find out from them how else the economy at the time should have been described. An economy where a hole in the name of a national cathedral was dug for $58 million, and it has become a waste. Dollars was given away. An economy where 11 million without a wheelbarrow of sand deposited at the site. An economy in which millions of dollars meant for the COVID-19 pandemic could not be accounted for. An economy which for the first time in the history of this country, many people, including the retired people. Mr. Speaker, in contrast to nursing trainees, is a budget.
Honorable member, your time is up. Honorable members, we are now adhering to the time strictly. So now the turn of Honorable Mustafa.
So much. Mr. Speaker, I am extremely grateful for this opportunity to comment on the budget statement and economic policy of government for the year 2025. Mr. Speaker, when the date was set for the finance minister to present his first budget of government, after a series of political promises, and the honest expectation of Ghanaian youth was to see this budget to bring innovative and bold economic model in the State of the Nation address over 2 million unemployed Ghanaian youth. Mr. Speaker, unfortunately, the President referred you to the budget statement, paragraph 478. And Mr. Speaker, with your permission, I want to quote the Finance Minister. In the year 2025, the government will implement the following measures to keep the wage bill within the sustainable level. And 1, fully implement the net freeze on employment by putting on hold all recruitment and replacement. This is from the president replacement. Mr. Speaker, employment, not lamentation, termination, dismissal, contradictions, and misplaced priorities. Mr. Speaker, Accra Sports Stadium, and Mr. Speaker, in 2014, AESL did a feasibility study report, and the report indicated that the Accra Sport was also unfit for sporting activity in 2007. It took His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo in 2014, when the report was published. Nothing was done in 2015, nothing was done in 2016, until 2017, when Ghanaian gave His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo the mandate to govern. Then the rehabilitation and the renovation work started in the Accra Sports Stadium, Baba Yara Sports Stadium, the Keko Sports Stadium, and also a SIP. Akufo-Addo Bawumia's government have done unprecedented in the history of our country. At the national level, Mr. Speaker, at the national level, President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo invested in the Baltimore multi sports complex. And that sports complex consists of an aquatic center. The aquatic center, a 10-lane competition pool, an 8-lane warm-up pool, which is an Olympic standard facility. Mr. Speaker, thanks is accepted by the World Aquatic Body. The Baltimore Sports Complex also consists of a multipurpose hall, a 1,000-seater, 5 tennis courts, one of them covered with spectator stand, a multipurpose dome, an athletic track installed by more. Mr. Speaker, aside that, at the University of Ghana, the University of Ghana Sports Stadium has been upgraded to an international standard, and because of that, the World Athletic Association have certified that facility, and that is why next year, 2026, the African Athletic Championship is going to be hosted by Ghana, because our facilities have been certified. Mr. Speaker, aside this, the rugby stadium, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo built a rugby stadium. That rugby stadium is the best in West Africa. And because of that, Ghana can host an African Rugby Championship here in Ghana. Since independence, we have never had such opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And aside this, the Achimota Cricket Oval was also constructed. And this cricket oval, Mr. Speaker, is also certified by the World Cricket Body. And because of this facility, at the regional level, Mr. Speaker, sports stadium in the Denton region for the Ministry of Sports and Recreation. It means that this is sending signal that the rest of the 8 left is going to be abandoned by the Sports Secretariat, where we will to abandon this sports facility is unfortunate. And for a government that says that the newly created region will be given opportunity to have sports stadium facility need to be maintained. All these iconic facilities, over 200 AstroTurf. We have only 2 AstroTurf in the entire country. 8 years, Mr. Speaker, 8 years, we can now count over 200 AstroTurf. And if you are going to have a very good recreation, this AstroTurf dotted in our various constituencies and districts will be used to assist to have these recreational activities in the of allocating question that there's no clarity on how this money is going to be expended. The finance minister should therefore come clear to give detailed expenditure on the 3.5 billion that has been allocated. Also, Mr. Speaker, the finance minister said that by uncapping GET Fund, 4.1 billion is going to be made available to GET Fund. Especially is that will this amount be enough for the free? The double track, they are going to do away with the double track. And if you are going to do away with the double track, you need infrastructure in the secondary schools. And my question to the minister, whether the 4.1 billion that has been, when we uncap GET Fund, that is going to be made available, will be enough to... Also, the finance minister made allocation to purchase sanitary pad to the girls. But what the finance minister failed to do was to give us clarity whether
these sanitary pads that we are going to purchase are for the girls in the primary school, or they are for the girls in the secondary school, or they are for the girls in the tertiary schools, or they are for the girls in the private schools, the various private schools in Ghana. There's no clarity. So me, I want to appeal to the Minister for Education and the Finance Minister to ensure that this school, secondary school, tertiary school, or private, every girl should be given opportunity to have this free sanitary pad. Just like His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo ensure that every school going child.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your time is up. Honourable Member Fatau. Yes, Deputy Majority Leader.
Changes. No. We made some changes. So he will take his on Monday, since we are sitting on Monday. So he's gone. He's got a meeting. So he will also do Monday. I thought he was going to be here. So you skip those two and go on to the next one.
Okay. So, Honorable Ajay,
thank you.
Mr. Speaker, listening to colleagues, both from the minority side and outside, there's no doubt that this budget is the youngest, competent, efficient finance ministers Ghana has ever had. And indeed, one of the youngest presidents, a competent president that Ghana has ever had. And it's a joy for many of my colleagues have talked or touched to talk about the comment on the roads regarding the deplorable state of our roads in this country, from this side and our side. Mr. Speaker, it is true that our roads are in a bad shape. In fact, the sector that manages roads, the Ministry of Roads and Highways, is in a serious mess because of the fact that from 2017 in the industry, road condition makes survey. It is only this method that we can assess the condition of our roads and the budget. The network, we virtually, Mr. Speaker, are losing our network. Mr. Speaker, it is also worrying to know that the ministry has ever, in the history of this country, contracted the indebtedness to the Speaker. It's a record that it was power to NDC, to MPP. In the State of the Nation address and the budget presentation, it was clear that roads in the country were in the state to the tune of 17 billion Ghana cedis. That is the total commitment of roads in this country was 17 billion Ghana cedis. And that was an issue. It has never happened before, that the total commitment was 17 billion Ghana cedis. Today, what we are realizing, what we are seeing is that, disappointingly, to the tune of 105 billion Ghana cedis. 105 billion Ghana cedis. We don't have anything to show that even though we have this commitment, we have spent so much money, we haven't got anything to show. It is because of the fact that within the 8-year period, this government, my colleagues here, were not able to conduct that survey. We call it the Road Condition Survey, to determine the state and the condition of our roads. That is going to fix the problem. Of course, we need the support of this side to resolve the problem. I remember a while ago, the former minister, the government should find money to conclude or to finish some of the projects like from Accra to Kumasi Road and many more, because these networks are very, very critical to the development of the economy. Mr. Speaker, from August 2024 to the 31st of December, the ministry had contracted over 15 billion Ghana cedis contract. That hadn't gotten, or they never had
the commencement warrant. Commencement warrant meant that it was not authorized. You can't commit the state to that level of contract when you don't have funding for it. You have never provided any budgetary allocation for that. But that one, at appropriate time, we go into that. So in fixing the problem, and that is why I think that President Mahama was spot on the point, that on capping the road fund will give us the opportunity to have enough money into the kitty for road maintenance and maintenance only. Maintenance only. And that is very critical because 2.8 billion Ghana cedis into road maintenance, I think, will solve most of our problems. In many of our areas, Mr. Speaker, particularly in the rural setting, the basic things that we need is the maintenance, the grading of our roads, the spot improvement of our roads, the pothole patching for the country. And when I hear people calling, they release that. Yes, indeed. It is also critical that in fixing this deplorable state of our road, the provision is also very clear that the big push is also going to take charge of critical roads, privatized roads, into us at the time of we're exiting. The total indebtedness, as has been told by the president, was 105 billion, but the total commitment is 109 billion Ghana cedis. When you talk about commitment, we are talking about the contracts that we have awarded, Minister, saying that you must, the Project Management Act is there, that you can't commit the state to any undertaking or any contract when you don't have budgetary allocations for that. And so you award contract to the when there is a commencement warrant, that is a problem. So, Mr. Speaker, this budget gives us the hope that many of us who have our roads in bad shape, that require or that need to be maintained, the road fund, which is uncapped, will provide the needed support going forward accordingly. Mr. Speaker, it's also very important to note that in addition to opening up or uncapping the road fund, the toll is also coming now. This is a government that came to power, MPP, NDC, and they decided to abolish, to scrap the road tolls. Mr. Speaker, that is a cheap source of money. They never got it. You remember when the Speaker causing financial loss to the state? I had called to answer, to respond to some calls from when I went to one of the FM stations, that, so what are you going to do with that intransigence? The fact that that chunk of money has been left to go back. So what are you going to do to the minister who did that? And I said, now there's a minister, a new government in place, that the needful will be done. Mr. Speaker, our major trunk roads and so on will be money. But the question I asked myself is that the former minister for roads and highways was here. Fortunately, problem.
Honorable member is Honorable Ajay Mensah. You are the chairman of a committee. Yes, so 5 more minutes.
First, I request from my committee members, particularly the roads minister, to create.
Microphone should be on. Okay.
Thank you. To create
for 5 minutes only.
Mr. Speaker, I'll have 15 minutes. Thank you so very much. I'm the chairman of the committee. Mr. Speaker, this budget provides a lot of hope, railways in this country, and the Western Rails, where a lot of money has been expended on that corridor. Mr. Speaker, we haven't gotten anything to show, because when you invest so much, you need to have the returns. You hear the Takrade, Kodokrom, Manso stretch, Kodokrom, Takwa, Univali stretch. They just talk about them, and we spend so much money. We don't have anything to show. Fortunately, in this budget, President Mahama has committed himself that the Mpakadan 97.7 kilometer rail will be used for passenger, purposes to Domi. So Adomi to Adomi, from Tema to Adomi, we will use this stretch. We remember when these coaches were bought and we were told that they were dumb coaches. This corridor will be opened up for the railways going forward. Mr. Speaker, then I turn my head, for instance, for the whole airport that will be developed into the training hub and open up the area going forward as far as the issue relating to the airport in Ho. As it is very clear in the budget, Ho is going to be opening up for the training, and it's very important also that I touch on this one before my time elapses. Mr. Speaker, the issue of the usage of motorbike, enough comfort for users. Because of the fact, Mr. Speaker, that the traffic regulations relating to this switches is a problem, this regulation is going to be reviewed. And when it is reviewed, we are going to allow giving a lot of training and giving jobs to our people for the Okada to be rationalized, Okada to be regularized, and to give that comfort that we need. In this budget, this provision is then an undertaker. So when we have the road sector fixed, the road sector sorted, when we have the transportation sector also brought online, and when we have the railways also brought to speed, then there's a commitment in this budget that the Western Corridor move up that stretch. Because I come from that area, the institute been up for us to cut those minerals to the Takoradi Harbour for transportation as I to earn some money. Mr. Speaker, so in a nutshell, I want to show my appreciation. I want to show my gratitude, and I expect colleagues to join me, particularly the committee members for Roads and Transportation Committee, to thank and commend the Minister for Finance and indeed President Mama for giving it. But in all over the country, everybody is talking about it. I have cause to get complaints, what they call commendation, Mr. Speaker, from my minister going forward. And I'm happy to add my voice to this. Few words that I think that I have brought forward.
Honourable Member, conclude.
With these few words, Mr. Speaker, I thank you so very much. Thank you.
It's now the turn of Honourable Anprachum, Member of Parliament for Mampong. Ranking member, you have 15 minutes. Honourable Chum. The floor.
Thank you. My glasses are starting to humming. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For the 5 budget statement under the Sky Resources Committee. Mr. Speaker, any discussion and commentary on Ghana lands and natural resources sector today without mentioning Galamsey or illegal mining and the destruction of water bodies and forestry is no commentary. Mr. Speaker, Galamsey has exploded into a new dimension in our country today. And the dimension is taking an impunity situation. Mr. Speaker, the NDC won the 2024 election partly because they managed to package Galamsey and hang it around the neck of the Akufo-Addo government. Today, Ghanaians are seeing and witnessing the real kingpins and queenpins in the Galamsey industry. There is impunity all over the place, with the NDC kingpins and queenpins leading the charge, invading and mining in the forest reserves and the destruction of water bodies, to the brazen destruction of our forest reserves and our water bodies and the forestry. It is a known fact. It is only the blind who will not want to see what is happening in our country, Ghana, today. And if we are not very careful, in the next 20 to 30 years, there might not be a country called Ghana for us. It's bad. And something ought to be done about it. You were very smart. You hang it around our neck. Ghanaians bought into it. Who are in control?
Before the elections, the end calling on Akufo-Addo's government to call for a state of emergency. Today, now you are in government, there is no talk about a state of emergency. Incessant call for state of emergency. Today, the NDC and its associates are silent on a state of emergency. The situation in the country right now, when we talk of Galamsey, has become a national security threat. And we are struggling. Mr. Speaker, Galamsey is killing and destroying Ghana. It has become a danger for our very survival. And if Galamsey is not sorted out, as Ghana and to talk about Galamsey. It is no wonder, and I quote, Mr. Chairman, I will take urgent, decisive action. That the time for tea room discussions, stakeholder talks, and policy revisions are over. Because the talk, Galamsey is on the ascendancy. Today, in the southern part of the country, the middle belt, it has become so muddy that Ghana Water Company is having to spend millions and extra money to be able to process the water for domestic consumption. How far are we going to be able to live with this menace? Mr. Speaker, I am only hoping that the government will put aside politics and bite the bullet. And in biting the bullet, the government must be seen to be leading the charge. And the government must be seen to be providing the leadership and the direction. And the government must be seen to be tackling this menace. For 8 years, they hang it around our neck. For 8 years, they bastardized Akufo-Addo's government. For 8 years, they made it look like as if that all Galamseyers are MPP activists. There has been a changing of the guard. Now the NDC is in control. Your people have taken over. So let's see what you are capable of doing. Let's put the politics aside. The Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Kofi Bua, tried to calm the waters with the Galamsey and the illegal mining to take away the power of the preeminence of Galamsey. And I find that to be commendable. The legislation is being occasioned by the terrible environmental degradation and deforestation, biodiversity loss, and pollution. And here again, I will want to commend the activities of the various civil society groups and deal with Galamsey activities, including that they have my full support. But with two caveats. One, implementation. And two, the politics of it. Many seemingly laudable and because we have the to do. Personally, I hate and despise destroyers of water bodies and any Galamseya. Number two, the minister also seeks to revoke small-scale licenses granted at consents for me. Honorable
Ambrachum, the member has been standing for some time. Let me give him the floor. So they will stop the time for you. Yes, honorable member.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 122. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member impugned that he has no proof of what he tried to impugn. This is a house of record, so he need, let's expunge him from there. You need to let him withdraw, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Honorable Habib.
Mr. Speaker, I think there was guidance from the speakership that such things, we should let things flow. And more to the point, when you get up to say you are coming under Order 122, it is still not clear. Order 122 have one up to A, B, C, D. Completely rule him out and let the honorable colleague continue. So that, rather than that, if you do that and you also start speaking.
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I think by the early ruling or the guidance given, Mr. Speaker, please let the debate flow.
Is under the marginal note interruption of debate. So a member may interrupt a debate because subject matters. A, by a point of order being raised. B, by a matter of privileges suddenly arising, clarification. D, by attention being called to the absence of quorum. E, by attention on a point of procedure. Honourable members, if you go to Standing Order 123, it talks about content of a speech. As the use, a member shall not use offensive, abusive, insulting, blasphemous, or unbecoming, or impugn the integrity. So, honourable members, you can interrupt debates, understanding Order 122, and 2A and B. So, honourable member, may you do the needful and proceed. Honorable.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm guided. Mr. Speaker.
Honorable member, withdraw your words and proceed.
What words?
So, therefore, if they said, Honorable Habib, we are here to moderate the House. If somebody from my right said that the MPP kingpins are in charge of Galamsey, I will equally ask the person to withdraw. So once you said the NDC kingpins are in charge of Galamsey, I am similarly urging upon you to withdraw.
Chairman, Mr. Speaker, I withdraw.
Very well.
Happy now?
Please proceed.
Very soon we'll be coming to the House. Those
Please
who are here
proceed.
that days ago from granting licenses. Liable, he is doing the revocation. It's solid, which according to the minister, with regards to the application, the approval, and the granting of the licenses, which do not go through the proper processing. And especially is targeting small-scale miners. Is that, why is it that the cutoff point is 7th of December? Is it fair? December, when the MPPs, the changing of the guards, where the opportunity is going to be created for NDC applications. Again, the minister is saying that it is going to change the community mining schemes to community mining cooperatives. What is the real difference between the two? The mining schemes and the cooperatives. I'm afraid if we are not very careful with this Galamsey matter and the way we tackle it, nothing is going to happen. There will be no change. I was hoping that with a resetting agenda in this Galamsey area. But the first attempt.
Member conclude.
Oh dear. Okay. I'm lost. Our resources that in the implementation of this new reform, he will try as much as possible to take out politics out of it. And that my real understanding of resetting, which I want to see in a very positive light.
Honorable Rashid Perpo. Contribute to the statement, financial statement presented to us by the Minister of Finance on behalf of John Dramani Mahama. Mr. Speaker, as the Minister in charge of Labor, Employment, Labor, Jobs and Employment, into the budget, and I said, blessed Ghana, bless Ghana. The reason was that for labor to be properly engaged, for the people of Ghana to be paid enough for what they work for, essentially, there must be a strong, forward-looking economy. And a major concern for many Ghanaians in the last administration was because we had run down this economy to the point that we were completely overwhelmed with debts. Mr. Speaker, to the point that out of the total earnings we have in this country, we paid to the point when inflation is going down gradually, Mr. Speaker. And we got to the point when unemployment, especially youth unemployment, was ranging between 15% and 30%. All these culminated into a situation where the young person in Ghana was despondent. You have a host of them trying to cross over to other countries because they had no jobs and the situation was so terrible for us. Mr. Speaker, at that same point, as the penultimate speaker, the former in our land, we got to a point when the land itself became a target for destruction by Ghanaians themselves. Our forest reserves were overwhelmed. The history, not too far away. And Mr. Speaker, as a negative question is being why I'm very happy, because first and most important thing is going to restore confidence in Ghana and confidence amongst the Committee of Nations that Ghana, this is my country, I want to work in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, and it will be the Ghana we want. It is going to fiscal policy, and it's going to ensure that in the kind of economy we run, we will recover most of the lost items which went directly into private hands, Mr. Speaker. The pain of this economy is that many people don't see the economy as their own. They see it as something else everybody wants to make money on. Confident that it is the budget we all want, we're going to have increased investment. We're going to have increased jobs. Mr. Speaker, a good economy provides direct investment either from the individuals, domestic investment, or from external investment. And I can say that if we support the process in going forward, if we have, we can create wealth in this country and we can make Ghanaians much more confident than we have them today. Mr. Speaker, the economy is going to bring back what we are talking about in the process of development, the 24-hour economy. A situation where we can engage as many, pick up the young person who finished school and for several will produce value for this country. Mr. Speaker, we believe very strongly that
there's the economy that is going to create wealth in the Ejumawura program, which is going to create for our country, for our people. In my office, as I sit there, I receive lots of people who are coming over. They want to invest in the economy because they know that there has been a change. Young people are coming forward because they think that we are about to do something for them. The huge level of confidence is growing high. And Mr. Speaker, we can't afford to fail the Ghanaian. That is why I think that all of us must make it a responsibility. Is the fact that there's going to be, the economy has assured us of a rapid industrialization process, which is going to be the one that to promote value addition all along in this country and external end out of them. Essentially now, we are trying very hard. This economy is providing a situation where we can have more domestic investment. I believe that the present budget is now calling on us to do what we must do to ensure that we have a forward-moving economy and to do what we must do to create. My major concern is now to find we are assuming that we are not able to consume, to absorb all the working force in Ghana. It is the reason why, as part of our policy, we want to create a situation where young people can also move into other countries with the kind of skills they have. Mr. Speaker, let me explain that it is not the situation out there unemployed and who must be helped. And Ghana being what it is, at the center of the world, with the training we receive, quality training, specific in addressing the job challenges we have trained them adequate enough and they are capable enough, but create value, create a situation where they can go out there and work. And so the situation is that we are no longer going to allow a situation where people go out into the other countries to work and they are mistreated. And so we are going to sign agreements to make sure that are going to work with the Ghanaian government so we can go and work and be able to come back if they choose to. The Speaker, so this budget has created room for us to provide that situation. It is providing room for us to lift up the unemployed and give them hope, for them to know that in the near future, ensuring that it is a place where they can. I want to thank you for allowing me to make just this short statement and to assure the young person in this country that the time has come for him. The situation is not going to be as easy as that because of what we have inherited and that challenge. It is not going to be a situation where we will fail in the end. It's going to be a situation where success will smile at us and Ghanaians will be happy that there has been a change. And the change that is going to create value for Ghana and reset the agenda and reset the system and create positive change.
I'll proceed to give the floor to Honorable Akwesi Konedo. Deputy Ranking, you have 10 minutes.
Deputy Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity to contribute to the budget statement for the financial year ending 2025 December. Mr. Speaker, I would like to first start to place on record, and it's very important, this House is a House of record, that the Electoral Commission is the sole body mandated to the percentage that the Electoral Commission assigned to the New Patriotic Party, 5%, and I would want that to enter into the records. Exactly. No problem. Mr. Speaker, to the budget. Did you understand percentage? Whenever there is a challenge, is that there is no physical space. With an allocation of, say, whenever is that there is a big push that would encompass those areas that you don't find in it. Where they try as much as possible to want to convince Honorable Guzitando when he came here, a 24-hour plus, because areas of the Egyptians, the Romans took it, the Greeks took it, and now we have it. Now we have 24-hour plus. I don't know if we are going to create some on the other side saying party here, Spocker. That is why areas that have never been entered into, reserves that have never been entered into, Mr. Speaker, now there is mining going on in those forest reserves. The only now illegal mining. Now it is also with illegal chainsaw. Mr. Speaker, just 2 days ago, others were brutally beaten. Mr. Speaker, now it is shifting because Party Aboka. We tell us of the Blue River Initiative. Mr. Speaker, today Ghana is playing Chad at the Accra Sports Stadium and we raise them well. About the River Guards, I was wondering, is it the new Black Star team that he was adoring? Because the black and white team, they were in white tops with black stripes to win an election. But you cannot use Yeye Yenko, Mr. Speaker, Yeye Yenko cannot fight it.
Not at all.
Cannot win the fight against
Honorable member, you know the rules, so do the needful.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. However, Mr. Speaker, it is no wonder that the
Honorable member, if you speak in a local language.
Hey, let's go. It is an quotation from when we started running, and they had whistles on their mouth. So when they played, it will sound body to sack away those illegal miners on the river. But Mr. Speaker, I don't know. That is why maybe they were saying when in charge of operations for A. Rocha Ghana says that it is just a waste of the taxpayers' money. Mr. Speaker, the minister told us about 9 forest reserves that has been taken over, and now he comes back to tell us that 7 of them has been taken back, and there are 2. The most important thing that I would want us to say, Mr. Speaker, enrichment of our forest resources project, with which, Mr. Speaker, we managed to plant over 40 million seedlings, which has a success rate of almost about 78%. That is helping us to reforest our degraded land forest. Today, as I speak, the Honorable Minister is in inquiry, no change of name. Mr. Speaker, saying that your father-in-law is the daughter. And let me say, in 2023, Mr. Speaker, Ghana was the second country in Africa, next to Mozambique, and the third in the world, that received carbon credit from the World Bank's Forest Carbon Partnership Facility in the tune of over $4.8 million. Mr. Speaker, it's a testament to the effort that we put in reforesting, and Ghana is bound to receive almost about 50. I would urge the minister to engage and continuously do that so that this amount of money would also be made available to this country in terms of trying to stop deforestation and make sure that our forests and natural resources are intact. Mr. Speaker, another point I would want to raise is also on the point of resilient Ghana. That was launched at COP28 in Dubai. First, it was done in Sheikh Sharam in Egypt. Mr. Speaker, that also has the potential of bringing us about 30 million. I would want to urge the ministry to continue on that path, because so once that is followed through, Ghana becomes a beacon of hope for that. Mr. Speaker, let me say that efforts have been made, and these are efforts that are verifiable in terms of making sure that the commissions under the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, the BNE, those ones have been completed. Mr. Speaker, now if you go to Bolga, Kumasi, Tamale, and Takrade, they are at advanced places. If you go to Kumasi, it's almost about done, 95% done. Not be in vain. Same way with the Lands Commission again. Mr. Speaker, efforts have been made to make sure that the Lands Commission is fully digitalized, such that our land administration systems, Mr. Speaker, will be at par with international standards. 6 regional offices, Northeast, Oti, Savannah, and the Western North. Mr. Speaker, all of these have been fully digitalized, and I would want the ministry, with the allocation that have been granted, continuously do the land documentations, borders, and I'm glad
please conclude.
We would raise what to do. If that is done, once on the other hand, the minister is trying to do what he terms as the capping of some of these agencies, now he's in line, moving into wanting to also then take away from some of these institutions that would help in managing some of these areas that we do have. But however, doesn't it surprise me, Mr. Speaker, when you don't have financial space, you still have the effort to set aside 661 million for what?
Yes, just with your leave, Mr. Speaker, I've just been briefed about questions for next week. I was at business committee meeting, and some urgent questions that even this week there were some urgent questions that the ministers wrote that they could not make it. I personally spoke to 2 of them and they've agreed to come on Tuesday. My view is that even if after the committee meeting there is questions, but an urgent question featuring for the ensuing week is quite so that at least we deal with the urgent questions next week, and then if we can discuss the regular questions, that is fine. But an urgent question is an urgent question. So I feel, Deputy Majority Leader, in all fairness, I don't like surprises, and once we have an understanding, I would oblige you. So please, let's go by what we discussed.
Yes, Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I think the Honorable Leader, it wasn't a surprise. He left before the meeting ended. And these discussions came, but I think the decision was made as a result of the time that it takes for the questions, to be dealt with before we. But I would urge you to discuss this with the leader, because there are other pertinent issues as well that we wanted it resolved. And I said here this morning that the leader will engage you to address those issues. One of them is actually to do with the idea that the governor should be here to address, matters of these financial issues that we've had in the past since 2013 up to date. And I did say that you brought the issue up, and I enhanced it by including, financial issue whip, decide on that matter. You brought it up, I enhanced it. If it shouldn't have a space on the business statement for next week, then that will be addressed. So in getting an amicable solution. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, with all due respect, the business statement was adopted when the second deputy speaker was in the chair. So if there is any issue emanating from the business statement, I believe leadership of the House can engage, and as masters of our own rules, we know what exactly to do. But the adoption of the business statement to accommodate should do. So I will encourage leadership to engage in this regard. Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you. Mr. Speaker, I will not pursue this matter for the purpose of getting you to vary the decision. No, not here to vary. But, Mr. Speaker, my point is that when we agree and same registers, we should go by it. I disagree with the deputy leader. Certain decisions were taken. I left with the understanding that we had closed the chapter, and I like fair game. I had been agreed upon, and I said on the basis of that, I'm leaving for a caucus meeting. So it shouldn't be. You see, when things change this way, it creates problems for future goodwill. So I would only plead. And when it happens like that, I'm just a call away. You know me, and I am not a difficult person. If you have any decision to take, let's discuss, because I've been in that black chair to the right of Mr. Speaker before, and I know how difficult it is to be a majority. So I would suggest strongly to you that without prejudice to the discussions to be held, the urgent questions at least, and this is a plea to you, that the urgent questions at least should feature, because that was a decision of the business committee. If for some reason you want to vary, we can discuss. But what we've agreed upon, so that the public doesn't get a certain impression that we come here, the minority is always opposing. You know that the work that you do here, government business, 99% of it, we've supported you. 99% of government business. I should say 100%. We've not opposed any government business in this 9th parliament. Tell me, which government business did the minority oppose you? Yet there's a certain impression out there. So please, kindly let's get the clerks to feature at least the urgent, with the greatest respect. Mr. Speaker.
Members, I think we should not belabor the point. The best way out is the leadership engagement with the majority leader.
Mr. Speaker, but the meeting was not closed when you were leaving. Yes, but the discussion, there was no discussion about urgent questions. The urgent question discussion was about questions that the ministers were not going to be available. The ministers were not going to be available. Yes, so I have said that if that is the case, then the two leaders should speak. I would have thought that normally when the business statement is ready, the leaders would have seen it before it comes here. So I am surprised. I thought that is the practice. I don't know. I'm just saying I thought that's the practice. So if you didn't see it, then obviously you and leader will have to have a chat on that. But it may come as a surprise to you. I don't find it difficult at all.
Honorable members, why can't we take a cue that leadership should engage and resolve this matter? No amount of argument can help us to resolve this matter, apart from the engagement by the two leaders. So please, member.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with the greatest of respect, I appreciate to resolve this matter, but it's also the hour. And in this chamber, travels like 4 hours. So if you can keep to the 1 hour, I don't think there should be supplementary questions traveling on end. I think that, Mr. Speaker, I will crave your indulgence to take a look at that one while the leadership keep to the time. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It's now the turn of Honorable Kretu Sedu Dapila.
Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to the budget statement presented to the House. Mr. Speaker, a budget is simply estimates of revenue and expenditure for a set period of time. Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister, the Honorable Atoforsen, made 2025 budget much more simpler to the understanding of the ordinary Ghanaian. Mr. Speaker, budget is a budget that has come to solve the problems of Ghana. This budget was presented, or is a budget that is supposed to ensure the good living, or ensure that Ghanaians live very well. Mr. Speaker, before I proceed, let me, Mr. Speaker, we left this country, we left governance in 2016 with an inflation, President John Dramani Mahama. Mr. Speaker, in 2024, our colleagues did inflation of 23.8%. So if you want to compare, you will notice that we are better managers of the economy than the MPP. Mr. Speaker, under us, in 2016, the cedi depreciated by 9.7% in 2016, yet they call us incompetent. Mr. Speaker, if we want to do this comparison, the exchange rate in 2016 was 4.2 under us. Mr. Speaker, they did 16.5. And yet they want to tell us that they are better managing you to your own record.
Address the chair.
Mr. Speaker, public debt under us was 122 billion. Mr. Speaker, the Finance Minister presented to us their own, the public debt at the end of their tenure, Mr. Speaker, is 721 billion. Mr. Speaker, this, with even 721 billion, Mr. Speaker, with little to show. They don't have much to show today. Let me go to the budget. Mr. Speaker, I refer to page 71 to 72, paragraph 372 to 395. Mr. Speaker, the NDC promised to pay assemblement of allowance to our assembly members. Mr. Speaker, this is a novelty. It was a promise made by His Excellency President Mahama in 2020 elections and in 2024 elections. Mr. Speaker, we are delivering on our promises. Mr. Speaker, we are allocating an amount of 7.2 billion to common fund, and the finance minister in the budget presentation made all of us to know that 80% of the common fund will go directly to the local assemblies to ensure or to bring development to the doorsteps of our people. Gone are the days when the money is usually will be held at the Common Fund Secretariat, where procurement will be done and what is the goods and services will be sent to assemblies when the assemblies do not even need them. Mr. Speaker, PP, they allocated 1.1 billion. School feeding, we are doing 1.3 billion. Mr. Speaker, they did 1.3 billion. Mr. Speaker, we have increased it to 38%, 33%, Mr. Speaker. We are doing 1.78 billion. Mr. Speaker, in fact, there is something about Ghana school feeding. For the past days in the news, Mr. Speaker, Ghana school feeding 2024, the budget that was presented in 2024, they allocated 1.3 billion. Mr. Speaker, we are doing 1.7 billion. Mr. Speaker, even with the money that was allocated, woman MPs who was a leader in this house, Mr. Speaker, she's all over on national televisions, radio stations talking about the corruption that took place under Ghana school feeding. Mr. Speaker, capitation grants. Mr. Speaker, our teachers, Mr. Speaker, our headmasters of basic schools, Mr. Speaker, headmasters of basic schools, Mr. Speaker, is being increased. Capitation grant is being increased by 72%. Mr. Speaker, we've allocated 145 million to our basic schools.
I recognize the minority leader.
Very respected records for debate. You must produce political statements as reference. If we are to allow political statements that are made in jest as reference points, there will be chaos in this house. Two, Mr. Speaker, I chair the road fund. He's giving out some figures. No. Road fund payments were made at the road fund and at the Ministry of Finance. Deal with the facts, not in parts, but in whole. So please don't mislead. The road fund inherited some debt, which debt started from 2015, 2016, and a chunk of the releases were being used to pay that would have worked for the state. So please, Honorable Cletus, don't go there. Stop. You are very respected. Say the thing. I know you are a man of procedure. You are a man of rules. And Mr. Speaker, you know that one of the reasons why all of us are wishing you well is because you stick to the rules. Mr. Speaker, I know that you have the capability to advise him to do the right thing and to stay away from those territories and focus on comment in accord with the rules of the House. Mr. Speaker, very clear. He knows that you are commenting. Don't introduce yourself. You cannot defend. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case and I pray that my colleague will take a cue.
He was actually going to educate my honorable brother, but then he also ended up doing the same thing. I mean, we do know numbers or whatever. We can ask him to. Mr. Speaker, leader. Mr. Speaker, the honorable leader was challenging the reference point of what he was saying, and he himself introduced another reference point without, putting anything down for us to see. So that's the education I'm talking about. he has to lead by example. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, by the rules, we have instances where the debate can be interrupted. And those instances are clearly spelled out in Order 122. Honorable members, disagreement with the member on the floor is not a ground for interrupting debate. If you have your turn, you can bring out your point in disagreement. Honorable members, right from the beginning, we know that if you want to apply Order 91.3, probably with the rules when it comes to Order 91 is that Speaker should apply Order 91.3, then we can strictly apply Order 91.3. So, Honorable Minority Leader, am I invited to apply Order 91.3?
Mr. Speaker, accurate fund. You should be mindful of this and stay away from trouble. Cletus, I'm only making a friendly suggestion to you.
Speaker, with your leave, Mr. Speaker, we have also uncapped. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, Mr. Speaker, we have also uncapped the road fund. An amount of 2.8 billion has been programmed for the road fund to be used solely for road maintenance. This represents an increase of 100. I quoted, I'm reading from the budget statement. So Mr. Speaker, I can't be wrong. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, let me also avert the minds of honorable members and the entire House to page 86. Page 86, paragraph 768. Mr. Speaker, the NDC government will campaign on the promise of scrapping e-levy. Mr. Speaker, steps have been made in this budget to take e-levy off. And I know at the end of this budget debate, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, two venerable MPs presented to this House two venerable statements with regards to how these assemblies are struggling, particularly in terms of resources. Mr. Speaker, this budget has made allocation of 100 million for the payment of assembly members. Mr. Speaker, not only that, Mr. Speaker, 80% of common fund that will be allocated to Mr. Speaker, let me also say that the LEAP program that is in our rural areas that is supposed to benefit our vulnerable people. Mr. Speaker, this budget has increased the LEAP payment from 728 million to 953 million. Mr. Speaker, that's an increase of 30.8%. This can only be done under. Mr. Speaker, we also promised to take the emission tax off. We promised, Mr. Speaker,